All right, it is accomplished. So, for the you who are out in video land, we are beginning a new and fresh reading of Ulysses today from the very first page. And the plan is to do a lot more reading with each session, with some discussion at the end. So, that's the magnificent introduction by myself. And with that being said, I will begin the reading. Here we go. Stately, plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay cross. The yellow dressing gown ungirdled was sustained gently behind him by the mild morning air. He held the bowl aloft and intoned, Introibo ad altare die. Halted, he peered down the dark winding stairs and called up coarsely, Come up, Kench! Come up, you fearful Jesuit! Solemnly he came forward and mounted the round gun rest. He faced about and blessed gravely thrice the tower, the surrounding country, and the awakening mountains. Then, catching sight of Stephen Dedalus, he bent towards him and made rapid crosses in the air, gurgling in his throat and shaking his head. Stephen Dedalus, displeased and sleepy, leaned his arms on top of the staircase and looked coldly at the shaking, gurgly face that blessed him, equine in its length, and at the light, untonsured hair, grained and hued like pale oak. Katrina.
Buck Mulligan peeped an instant under the mirror and then covered the bowl smartly. Back to the barracks, he said sternly. He added in a preacher's tone, For this so dearly beloved is the genuine Christine, body and soul and blood and wounds. Slow music, please. Shut your eyes, gents. One moment. A little trouble about those white corpuscles. Silence all. He peered sideways up and gave a long, slow whistle of call, then paused a while in rapt attention, his even white teeth glistening here and there with gold points. Chrysostomus. Two strong, shrill whistles answered through the calm. Thanks, old chap, he cried briskly. That will do nicely. Switch off the current, will you? He skipped off the gun rest and looked gravely at his watcher, gathering about his legs the loose folds of his gown. The plump, shadowed face and sullen, oval jaw recalled a prelate, patron of arts in the Middle Ages. A pleasant smile broke quietly over his lips. The mockery of it, he said gaily. Your absurd name in ancient Greek. He pointed his finger in friendly jest and went over to the parapet, laughing to himself. Stephen Dedalus stepped up, followed him wearily halfway, and sat down on the edge of the gun rest, watching him as he propped his mirror on the parapet, dipped the brush in the bowl, and lathered cheeks and neck. Donna, please.
Mulligan's gay voice went on. My name is absurd too, Malachi Mulligan, two dactyls. But it has a Hellenic ring, hasn't it? Tripping and sunny like the book himself. We must go to Athens. Will you come if I can get the aunt to fork out 20 quid? He laid the brush aside and, laughing with delight, cried, Will he come? The jejune Jesuit. Ceasing, he began to shave with care. Tell me, Mulligan, Stephen said quietly. Yes, my love. How long is Haynes going to stay in this tower? Buck Mulligan showed a shaven cheek over his right shoulder. God, isn't he dreadful, he said frankly. A ponderous Saxon. He thinks you're not a gentleman. God, these bloody English, bursting with money and indigestion. Because he comes from Oxford. You know, Dedalus, you have the real Oxford manner. He can't make you out. Oh, my name for you is the best. Kinch the knife blade. He shaved warily over his chin. He was raving all night about a Black Panther, Stephen said. Where is his gun case? A woeful lunatic, Mulligan said. Were you in a funk? I was, Stephen said with energy and growing fear. Out here in the dark with a man I don't know, raving and moaning to himself about shooting a black panther. You saved men from drowning. I'm not a hero, however. If he stays on here, I am off. Buck Mulligan frowned at the ladder on his razor blade. He hopped down from his perch and began to search his trouser pockets hastily. Scuttle, he cried thickly. He came up over to the gun rest and, thrusting a hand into Stephen's upper pocket, said, "Lend us a loan of your nose rag to wipe my razor." Stephen suffered him to pull out and hold up on show by its corner a dirty, crumpled handkerchief. Buck Mulligan wiped the razor blade neatly, then gazing over the handkerchief, he said, "The bard's nose rag, a new art colour for our Irish poets. Snot green. You can almost taste it, can't you?" And Doyle.
I did the list, I forgot. He mounted to the parapet again and gazed out over Dublin Bay, his fair oak pale hair stirring slightly. "God," he said quietly, "isn't the sea what Algie calls it, a great sweet mother? The snot green sea, the scrotum tightening sea. Epi unima ponton." Ah, Daedalus, the Greeks, I must teach you. You must read them in the original. Talata, Talata. She is our great sweet mother. Come and look. Stephen stood up and went up to the parapet. Leaning on it, he looked down on the water and on the mailboat, clearing the harbour mouth of Kingstown. "Our mighty mother," Buck Mulligan said. He turned abruptly, his grey, searching eyes from the sea to Stephen's face. "The aunt thinks you killed your mother," he said. "That's why she won't let me have anything to do with you." "Someone killed her," Stephen said gloomily. "You could have knelt down, damn it, Kinch, when your dying mother asked you." Buck Mulligan said, "I'm hyperborean as much as you, but to think of your mother begging you with her last breath to kneel down and pray for her, and you refused. There was something sinister in you." He broke off and lathered again lightly his further cheek. Tolerant smile curled his lip. "What a lovely murmur," he murmured to himself. "Kinch, the loveliest murmur of them all." Joe?
He shaved evenly and with care, in silence, seriously. Stephen, an elbow rested on the jagged granite, leaned his palm against his brow and gazed at the fraying edge of his shiny black coat sleeve. Pain that was not yet the pain of love fretted his heart. Silently, in a dream, she had come to him after her death, her wasted body within its loose, brown grave clothes, giving off an odour of wax and rosewood, her breath that had bent upon him, mute, reproachful, a faint odour of wetted ashes. Across the threadbare cuffage, he saw the sea, hailed as a great, sweet mother by the well-fed voice beside him. The ring of the bay and skyline held a dull green mass of liquid. A bowl of white china had stood beside her deathbed, holding the green, sluggish bile, which she had torn up from her rotting liver by fits of loud, groaning vomiting. Bob Mulligan wiped again his razor blade. "Ah, poor dog's body," he said in a kind voice. I must give you a shirt and a few nose rags. How are their second-hand breeks?" "They fit well enough," Stephen answered. Buck Mulligan attacked the hollow under his underlip. "The mockery of it," he said contentedly. "Second leg, they should be. God knows what poxy bowsy left them off. I have a lovely pair, with a hair stripe grey. You look spiffing in them. I'm not joking. Kinch, you look damn well when you're dressed. Thanks, Stephen said. I can't wear them if they're grey. He can't wear them. Buck Mulligan told his face in the mirror, etiquette is etiquette. He kills his mother, but he can't wear grey trousers. Miranda.
Folded his razor neatly and with stroking palms of his finger felt the smooth skin. Stephen turned his gaze from the sea and to the plump face with its smoke-blue mobile eyes. That fellow I was with in the ship last night, said Buck Mulligan, says you have GPI. He's up in Dottyville with Connolly Norman, general paralysis of the insane. He swept the mirror a half circle in the air to flash the tidings abroad in the sunlight, now radiant in the sea. His curling, shaven lips laughed, and the edge of his white, glittering teeth. Laughter seized all his strong, well-knit trunk. Look at yourself, he said, you dreadful bard. Stephen bent forward and peered at the mirror held out to him. Buffed by a crooked crack, hair on end, as he and others see me, who chose this face for me? This dog's body to rid of vermin. It asks me too. I pinched it out of the skivvy room, Buck Mulligan said. It does her all right. The aunt always keeps plain-looking servants for Malachi. Lead him not into temptation. And her name is Ursula. Laughing again, he brought the mirror away from Stephen's peering eyes. The rage of Caliban is not seeing his mirror. The rage of Caliban at not seeing his face in the mirror, he said. If Wild were only alive to see you. Drawing back and pointing, Stephen said with bitterness, it is a symbol of Irish art, the cracked looking glass of a serpent. Buck Mulligan suddenly linked his arm in Stephen's and walked with him round the tower, his razor and mirror clacking in the pocket where he had thrust them. It's not fair to tease you like that, Kinch, is it? He said kindly. God knows you have more spirit than any of them. Parried again, he fears the lancet of my art as I fear that of his, the cold steel pen. Cracked looking glass of a servant. Tell that to the oxy chap downstairs and touch him for a guinea. He's stinking with money and thinks you're not a gentleman. His little fellow made his tin by selling jalap to Zulus or some bloody swindle or other. God, Kinch, if you and I could only work together, we might do something for this island, Hellenize it. Cranley's arm, his arm. Lewis.
And to think of your having to beg from these swine. I'm the only one that knows what you are. Why don't you trust me more? What have you up your... Why have you up your nose against me? Is it Haynes? If he makes any noise here, I'll bring down Seymour, and we'll give him a ragging worse than they gave Clive Kempthorpe. Young shouts of moneyed voices in Clive Kempthorpe's rooms. Pale faces. They hold their ribs with laughter, one clasping another. Oh, I shall expire. Break the news to her gently, Aubrey. I shall die. With slit ribbons of his shirt whipping the air, he hops and hobbles round the table, with trousers down at heels, chased by Addis of Magdalene, with the tailor's shears. A sacred calf's face gilded with marmalade. I don't want to be debagged. Don't play the giddy ox with me. Shouts from the open window, startling evening in the quadrangle. A deaf gardener, aproned, masked with Matthew Arnold's face, pushes his mower on the somber lawn, watching narrowly the dancing motes of grass arms. To ourselves, new paganism, Omphalos. Let him stay, Stephen said. There's nothing wrong with him except at night. Then what is it? Buck Mulligan asked impatiently. Cough it up. I'm quite frank with you. What have you against me now? They halted, looking towards the blunt cape of Brayhead, and lay on the water like the snout of a sleeping whale. Stephen freed his arm quietly. Do you wish me to tell you? He asked. Yes. What is it? Buck Mulligan answered. I don't remember anything. He looked in Stephen's face as he spoke. A light wind passed his brow, fanning softly his fair, uncombed hair, and stirring silver points of anxiety in his eyes. Stephen, depressed by his own voice, said, Do you remember the first day I went to your house after my mother's death? Buck Mulligan frowned quickly and said, What? Where? I can't remember anything. I remember only ideas and sensations. Why? What happened in the name of God? We were making tea, Stephen said, and went across the landing to get more hot water. Your mother and some visitor came out of the drawing room. She asked you who was in your room. Yes, Buck Mulligan said. What did I say? I forget. You said, Stephen answered, Oh, it's only Daedalus, whose mother is beastly dead. A flush, which made him seem younger and more engaging, rose to Buck Mulligan's cheek. Did I say that? He asked. Well, what harm is that? He shook his constraint from him nervously. And what is death? He asked. Your mother's, or yours, or my own. You saw only your mother die. I see them pop off every day in the Meta and Richmond, and cut up into tripes in the dissecting room. It is a beastly thing and nothing else. It simply doesn't matter. You wouldn't kneel down to pray for your mother on her deathbed when she asked you. Why? Because you have the cursed Jesuit strain in you, only it's injected the wrong way. To me, it's all a mockery and beastly. Her cerebral lobes are not functioning. She calls the doctor Sir Peter Teasel and picks buttercups off the quilt. Humor her till it's over. You crossed her last wish in death, and yet you sulk with me because I don't whinge like some hired mute from Lalouette's. Absurd. I suppose I did say it. I didn't mean to offend the memory of your mother. Next, please.
He
Orla.
had spoken himself into boldness. Stephen, shielding the gaping wounds which the words had left in his heart, said very coldly, I am not thinking of the offence to my mother. Of what then? Buck Mulligan asked. Of the offence to me, Stephen answered. Buck Mulligan swung round on his heel. Oh, an impossible person, he exclaimed. He walked off quickly round the parapet. Stephen stood at his post, gazing over the calm sea towards the headland. Sea and headland now grew dim. Pulses were beating in his eyes, veiling their sight, and he felt the fever of his cheeks. A voice within the tower called loudly, Are you up there, Mulligan? I'm coming, Buck Mulligan answered. He turned towards Stephen and said, Look at the sea. What does it care about offences? Chuck Loyola, Kinch, and come on down. The Sassenach wants his morning rashers. His head halted again for a moment at the top of the staircase, level with the roof. Don't mope over it all day, he said. I'm inconsequent. Give up the moody brooding. His head vanished, but the drone of his descending voice boomed out of the stairhead. And no more turn aside and brood upon love's bitter mystery, for Fergus rules the brazen cars. Wood shadows floated silently by through the morning peace, from the stairhead seaward where he gazed. Inshore and farther out, the mirror of of water whitened, spurned by light-shod hurrying feet. White breasts of the dim sea, the twinning stresses two by two, a hand plucking the harpstrings, merging their twining chords. Wave-white wedded words shimmering on the dim tide. Duncan.
A cloud began to cover the sun slowly, shadowing the bay in deeper green. It lay behind him, a bowl of bitter waters. Fergus' song. I sang it alone in the house, holding down the long dark chords. Her door was open. She wanted to hear my music. Silent with awe and pity, I went to her bedside. She was crying in her wretched bed. For those words, Stephen, love's bitter mystery. Where now? Her secrets, old feather fans, tasseled dance cards, powdered with musk, a god of amber beads in her locked drawer, a bird cage hung in the sunny window of her room when she was a girl. She heard old Royce sing in the pantomime of Turco the Terrible and laughed with others when he sang, I am the boy that can enjoy invisibility. Phantasmal mirth folded away, musk perfume, and no more turn aside and brood, folded away in the memory of nature with her toys. Memories beset his brooding brain. Her glass of water from the kitchen tap when she had approached the sacrament. A cored apple filled with brown sugar, roasting for her at the hob on a dark autumn evening. Her shapely fingernails, reddened by the blood of squashed lice from the children's shirts. Next, Katrina.
In a dream, silently, she had come to him, her wasted body within its loose grave clothes giving off an odor of wax and rosewood. Her breath bent over him with mute secret words, a faint odor of wetted ashes. Her glazing eyes staring out of death to shake and bend my soul on me alone, the ghost candle to light her agony, ghostly light on the tortured face, her hoarse loud breath rattling in horror while all prayed on their knees, her eyes on me to strike me down. Liliata rutilantium te confessorum, turma circumdet, jubilatium te virginum chorus excipiat. Ghoul, chewer of corpses. No, mother, let me be and let me live. Kinch ahoy! Buck Mulligan's voice sang from within the tower. It came near the staircase, calling again. Stephen, still trembling at his soul's cry, heard warm running sunlight, and in the air behind him the friendly words. Daedalus, come down like a good mosey. Breakfast is ready. Haynes is apologizing for waking us up last night. It's all right. I'm coming, Stephen said, turning. Do, for Jesus' sake, Buck Mulligan said, for my sake and for all our sakes. Next, please.
His head disappeared and reappeared.
Oh. Oh, there he is. Donna.
Yeah, I'm here. Okay.
Yeah.
His head disappeared and reappeared. I told him your symbol of Irish art. He says it's very clever. Touch him for a few quid, will you? A guinea, I mean. I get paid this morning, Stephen said. The school kip, Buck Mulligan said. How much? 4 quid? Lend us one. If you want it, Stephen said. 4 shining sovereigns, Buck Mulligan cried with delight. We'll have a glorious drunk to astonish the druidy druids. 4 omnipotent sovereigns. He flung up his hands and tramped down the stone stairs, singing out of tune with a Cockney accent. Oh, we won't have a merry time. Or won't we have a merry time? Drinking whiskey, beer, and wine. On Coronation Day. Oh, won't we have a merry time on Coronation Day? Warm sunshine merrying over the sea. The nickel shaving bowl shone, forgotten on the parapet. Why should I bring it down? or leave it there all day, forgotten friendship. He went over to it, held it in his hands a while, feeling its coolness, smelling the clammy slaver of the lather in which the brush was stuck. So I carried the boat of incense then at Clongowes. I'm another now, and yet the same, a servant too, a server of a servant. In the gloomy domed living room of the tower, Buck Mulligan's gowned form moved briskly to and fro from the hearth, hiding and revealing its yellow glow. Two shafts of soft daylight fell across the flagged floor from the high barbicans, and at the meeting of their rays, a cloud of coal smoke and fumes of fried grease floated, turning. We'll be choked, Buck said. Haynes, open that door, will you? Stephen laid the shaving bowl on the locker. A tall figure rose from the hammock where it had been sitting, went to the doorway and pulled open the inner doors. Have you the key? A voice asked. Daedalus has it, Buck Mulligan said. Janie Mac, I'm choked. He howled without looking up from the fire. Kinch! It's in the lock, Stephen said, coming forward. The key scraped around harshly twice. Oh, when the heavy door had been set ajar, welcome light and bright air entered. Haynes stood at the doorway looking out. Stephen hailed his upended valise to the table and sat down to wait. Buck Mulligan tossed the fry on the dish beside him. Then he carried the dish and a large teapot over to the table, set them down heavily and sighed with relief. I'm melting, he said, as the candle remarked but hush, not a word more on that subject. Kinch, wake up. Bread, butter, honey. Haynes, come in. The grub is ready. Bless us, O Lord, and these thy gifts. Where's the sugar? Oh, Jay, there's no milk. Stephen, fetch the loaf and the pot of honey and the butter cooler from the locker. Buck Mulligan sat down in a sudden pet. What sort of kip is this? He said. I told her to come after 8. We can drink it black, Stephen said thirstily. There's a lemon in the locker. Oh, damn you and your Paris fads, Buck Mulligan said. I want sandy cold milk. Next, please. Anne.
Aye. Haynes came in from the doorway and said quietly, That woman is coming up with the milk. The blessings of God on you, Buck Mulligan cried, jumping up from his chair. Sit down, pour out the tea there. The sugar is in the bag. Here I can't go fumbling at the damned eggs. He hacked through the fry on the dish and slapped it out on 3 plates, saying, In nomine Patris et Filii Spiritus Sanctum. Haynes sat down to pour out the tea. I'm giving you 2 lumps each, he said. But I say, Mulligan, you do make strong tea, don't you? Buck Mulligan, here with thick slices from the loaf, said in an old woman wheedling voice, When I makes tea, as old Mother Grogan said. And when I makes water, water. By Jove, it is tea, Haynes said. Buck Mulligan went on hooing and wheedling. So I do, Mrs. Cahill, says she. Begod, madam, says Mrs. Cahill, God send you don't make them in the one pot. He lunged towards his messmates, in turn a thick slice of bread impaled on his knife. That's folks, he said very earnestly, for your book, Haynes. 5 lines of text and 10 pages of notes about the folk and the fish gods of Dundrum, printed by the Weird Sisters in the year of the big wind. He turned to Stephen and asked in a fine, puzzled voice, lifting his brows. Can you recall, brother, is Mother Grogan's tea and water pot spoken of in the Mabingion, or is it in the Upanishads? I doubt it, said Stephen gravely. Do you know, Buck Mulligan said in the same tone. Your reasons, pray. I fancy, Stephen said as he ate. It did not exist in or out of the Mabingion. Mother Grogan was, one imagines, a kingswoman of Mary Ann. Buck Mulligan's face smiled with delight. Charming, he said in a really sweet voice, showing his white teeth and blinking his eyes pleasantly. Do you think she was quite charming? Then suddenly, overclouding all his features, he growled in a hoarse, rasping voice as he hewed again vigorously at the loaf. For old Mary Ann, she doesn't care a down, but hissing up her petticoats, he crammed his mouth with fry and munch and droned. The doorway was darkened by an entry form. "The milk, sir." "Come in, ma'am," Mulligan said. "Kinch, get the jug." And on to Joe.
An old woman forward and stood by Stephen's elbow. "That's a lovely morning, sir," she said. "Glory be to God." "To whom?" Mulligan said, glancing at her. "Ah, to be sure." Stephen reached back and took the milk jug from the locker. "The islanders," Mulligan said to Haines casually, "speak frequently of the collector of produces." "How much, sir?" asked the old woman. "A quart," Stephen said. He watched her pour into the measure and thence into the jug. Rich white milk, not hers. Old shrunken paps. She poured again, a measureful and a tilly. Old and secret, she had entered from a morning world, maybe a messenger. She praised the goodness of the milk, pouring it out. Crouching by a patient cow at daybreak in the lush field, a witch on her toadstool, her wrinkled fingers quick at the squirting dugs. They lowed about her whom they knew, dew silky cattle, silk of the kine and poor old woman, names given her in old times, a wandering crone, lowly form of an immortal, serving her conqueror and her gay betrayer. Their common chuck queen, a messenger from the secret morning, to serve or to upbraid, whether he could not tell, but scorned to beg her favour. "It is indeed, ma'am," Buck Mulligan said, pouring milk into their cups. "Taste it, sir," she said. He drank at her bidding. "If we could only live on good food like that," he said to her, somewhat loudly, "we wouldn't have the country full of rotten teeth and rotten guts, living in a bog swamp, eating cheap food and the streets paved with dust, horse dung and consumptive spits." "Are you a medical student, sir?" the old woman asked. "I am, ma'am," Buck Mulligan answered. Stephen listened in scornful silence. She bows her old head to a voice that speaks to her loudly. Her bone setter, her medicine man, me she slights. To that voice that will shrive and all for the grave, all there is of her, but her woman's unclean loins, of man's flesh made not in God's likeness, the serpent's prey. And to the loud voice that now bids her be silent, with wondering, unsteady eyes. "Do you understand what he says?" Stephen asked her. "Is it French you're talking, sir?" the old woman said to Haines. Haines spoke to her again, a longer speech, confidently. "Irish," Buck Mulligan said. "Is there Gaelic on you?" "I thought it was Irish," she said, by the sound of it. "Are you from the west, sir?" "I am an Englishman," Haines answered. "He's English," Buck Mulligan said, "and he thinks we ought to speak Irish in Ireland." "Sure we ought to," the old woman said. "And I'm ashamed I don't speak the language myself. I'm told it's a grand language by them that knows." "Grand is no name for it," said Buck Mulligan. "Wonderful entirely. Fill us out some more tea, Kinch. Would you like a cup, ma'am?" "No, thank you, sir," the old woman said, slipping the ring of the milk can on her forearm and about to go. Haines said to her, "Have you your bill? We'd better pay her, Mulligan, hadn't we?" Stephen filled 3 cups. "Bill, sir?" she said, halting. "Well, it's 7 mornings a pint at 2p, 7.2 is a shilling, 2p over, and 3 mornings a quart at 4p is 3 quarts, a shilling and 1 is 2 and 2, sir." Buck Mulligan sighed, and having filled his mouth with a crust thickly buttered on both sides, stretched forward his legs and began to search his trouser pockets. "Pay up and look pleasant," Haynes said to him, smiling. "Miranda?"
Stephen filled a third cup, a spoonful of tea coloring faintly the thick, rich milk. Buck Mulligan brought up a florin, twisted it round in his fingers and cried, "A miracle!" He passed it along the table toward the old woman, saying, "Ask nothing more of me, sweet. All I can give you, I give." Stephen laid the coin in her uneager hand. "We'll owe you 2 pence," he said. "Time enough, sir," she said, taking the coin. "Time enough. Good morning, sir." She curtsied and went out, followed by Buck Mulligan's tender chant, "Heart of my heart, were it more would be laid at your feet." He turned to Stephen and said, "Seriously, Daedalus, I'm stony. Hurry out to your school, Kip, and bring us back some money. Today the bards must drink and junket. Ireland expects that every man this day will do his duty." That reminds me, Haynes said, rising, "that I have to visit your National Library today." "I'll swim first," Buck Mulligan said. He turned to Stephen and said blandly, "Is this the day for your monthly wash, Kinch?" Then he said to Haynes, "The unclean bard makes a point of washing once a month." "All Ireland is washed by the Gulf Stream," Stephen said, as he let honey trickle over a slice of loaf. Haynes, from the corner where he was nodding easily, a scarf about the loose collar of his tennis shirt, spoke. "I intend to make a collection of your sayings, if you will let me. Speaking to me, they wash and tub and scrub, edge and bite of inwit, conscientious, concise. Yet here's the spot. That one about the crotch looking glass of a servant being the symbol of Irish art is deuced good." Buck Mulligan kicked Stephen's foot under the table and said with warmth of tone, "Wait till you hear him on Hamlet, Haynes." "Well, I mean it," Haynes said, still speaking it to Stephen. "I was just thinking of it when that poor old creature came in." "Would I make money by it?" Stephen asked. Haynes laughed, and as he took his soft gray hat from the holdfast of the hammock, said, "I don't know. I'm sure." He strolled out the doorway. Buck Mulligan bent across to Stephen and said with coarse vigor, "You put your hoof in it now. Why did you say that for?" Louis?
"Well," Stephen said, "the problem is to get money. From whom? From the milkwoman or from him? It's a toss-up, I think." "I'd blow him out about you," Buck Mulligan said, "and then you come along with your lousy leer and your gloomy Jesuit jibes." "I see little hope," Stephen said. "From her or from him?" Buck Mulligan sighed tragically and laid his hand on Stephen's arm. "From me, Kinch," he said. In a suddenly changed tone, he added, "To tell you the God's truth, I think you're right. Damn all else they are good for. Damn all else they are good for. Why don't you play them as I do? To hell with them all. Let us get out of the Cape." He stood up, gravely ungirdled and disrobed himself of his gown, saying resignedly, "Mulligan is stripped of his garments." He emptied his pockets onto the table. "There's your snot rag," he said, and putting on his stiff collar and rebellious tie, he spoke to them, chiding them, and to his dangling watch chain. His hands plunged and rummaged in his trunk while he called for a clean handkerchief. "God, we'll simply have to dress the character. I want puce gloves and green boots." Contradiction. Do I contradict myself? Very well then. I contradict myself. Mercurial molecule, a limp black missile flew out of his talking hands. And there's your Latin quarter hat, he said. Stephen picked it up and put it on. Haynes called to them from the doorway. Are you coming, you fellows? I'm ready, Buck Mulligan answered, going towards the door. Come out, Kinch. You've eaten all we have left, I suppose. Resigned, he passed out with grave words and gait, saying well nigh with sorrow, and going forth, he met Butterly. Stephen, taking his ash plant from its leaning place, followed them out, and as they went down the ladder, pulled to the slow iron door and locked it. He put the huge key in his inner pocket. At the foot of the ladder, Mulligan asked, Did you bring the key? I have it, Stephen said, preceding them. He walked on. Behind him, he heard Buck Mulligan club with his heavy bath towel the leader shoots of ferns or grasses. Down, sir. How dare you, sir? Haynes asked. Do you pay rent for this tower? 12 quid, Buck Mulligan said. To the Secretary of State for War, Stephen added over his shoulder. They halted while Haynes surveyed the tower and said at last, Rather bleak in wintertime, I should say. Martello, you call it? Billy Pitt had them built, Mulligan said, when the French were on the sea. But ours is the Enfosse. What is your idea of Hamlet? Haynes asked Stephen. No, Buck Mulligan shouted in pain. I'm not equal to Thomas Aquinas and the 55 reasons he has made up to prop it up. Wait till I have a few pints in me first. He turned to Stephen, saying, as he pulled down neatly the peaks of his primrose waistcoat, You couldn't manage it under 3 pints, could you? You couldn't manage it under 3 pints, Kinch, could you? It has waited so long, Stephen said listlessly. It can wait longer. You pique my curiosity, Haynes said amiably. Is it some paradox? Next, please.
Pooh, Buck Mulligan said. We have grown out of wild and paradoxes. It's quite simple. He proves by algebra that Hamlet's grandson is Shakespeare's grandfather, and that he himself is the ghost of his own father. What? Haynes said, beginning to point at Stephen. He himself? Buck Mulligan slung his towel stolewise round his neck, and bending in loose laughter, said to Stephen's ear, O shade of Kinch the elder, Japhet in search of a father. We're always tired in the morning, Stephen said to Haynes, and it is rather long to tell. Buck Mulligan, walking forward again, raised his hand. The sacred pint alone can unbind the tongue of Daedalus, he said. I mean to say, Haynes explained to Stephen as they followed, this tower and these cliffs here remind me somehow of Elsinore. That beetles o'er his base into the sea, isn't it? Buck Mulligan turned suddenly for an instant toward Stephen, but did not speak. In the bright, silent instant, Stephen saw his own image in cheap, dusty mourning beside their gay attires. It's a wonderful tale, Haynes said, bringing them to halt again. Eyes pale as the sea the wind had freshened, paler, firm and prudent. The sea's ruler, he gazed southward over the bay, empty save for the smoke plume of the mailboat, vague on the bright skyline, and a sail tacking by the mudlands. I read a theological interpretation of it somewhere, he said, bemused. The father and the son idea. The son striving to be atoned with the father. Buck Mulligan at once put on a blithe, broadly smiling face. He looked at them, his well-shaped mouth open happily, his eyes, from which he had suddenly withdrawn all shrewd sense, blinking with mad gaiety. He moved a doll's head to and fro, the brims of his Panama hat quivering, and began to chant in a quiet, happy, foolish voice. I'm the queerest young fellow that ever you heard. My mother's a Jew, my father's a bird. With Joseph the joiner I cannot agree. So here's to the disciples and cavalry. Next, please.
He held up a forefinger of warning. If anyone thinks that I ain't divine, he'll get no free drinks when I'm waking the wine, but have to drink water and wish it were plain that I make when the wine becomes water again. He tugged swiftly at Stephen's ash plant in farewell, and running forward to the brow of the cliff, fluttered his hands at his side like fins or wings of one about to rise in the air, and chanted, "Goodbye now, goodbye, write down all I say, and tell Tom, Dick, and Harry I arose from the dead. What's bred in the bone cannot fail me to fly, and all of its breezer, goodbye now, goodbye." He capered before them, down towards the 40-foot hole, fluttering his wing-like hands, leaping nimbly. Mercury's hat quivering in the fresh wind that bore back to them his brief bird-like cries. Haines, who had been laughing guardedly, walked on beside Stephen and said, "We oughtn't to laugh, I suppose. He's rather blasphemous. I'm not a believer myself, that is to say. Still, his gaiety takes the harm out of it somehow, doesn't it? What did he call it? Joseph the Joiner?" "The Ballad of Joking Jesus," Stephen said. Next.
Oh, Haynes said, have you heard it before? 3 times a day after meals, Stephen said dryly. You're not a believer, are you? Haynes asked. I mean, a believer in the narrow sense of the word, creation from nothing and miracles and a personal God. There's only one sense of the word, it seems to me, Stephen said. Haynes stopped to take out a smooth silver case in which twinkled a green stone. He sprang it open with his thumb and offered it. Thank you, Stephen said, taking a cigarette. Haynes helped himself and snapped the case too. He put it back in his side pocket and took from his waistcoat pocket a nickel tinderbox, sprang it open too, and having lit his cigarette, held the flaming spunk towards Stephen in the shell of his hands. Yes, of course, he said as they went on again. Either you believe or you don't, isn't it? Personally, I couldn't stomach the idea of a personal God. You don't stand for that, I suppose. Donna.
You behold in me, Stephen said. Sorry. You behold in me, Stephen said with grim displeasure, a horrible example of free thought. He walked on, waiting to be spoken to, trailing his ash plant by his side. Its ferrule followed lightly on the path, squealing at his heels. My familiar after me calling, "Stephen!" A wavering line along the path. They will walk on it tonight, coming here in the dark. He wants that key. It is mine. I pay the rent. Now I eat his salt bread. Give him the key too. All. He will ask for it. That was in his eyes. After all, Haynes began. Stephen turned and saw that the cold gaze which had measured him was not all unkind. After all, I should think you were able to free yourself. You are your own master, it seems to me. I am servant of 2 masters, Stephen said, an English and an Italian. Italian, Haynes said. A crazy queen, old and jealous, kneeled down before me. And a third, Stephen said. There is who wants me for odd jobs. Italian, Haynes said again. What do you mean? The Imperial British State, Stephen answered, his colour rising, and the Holy Roman Catholic and Apostolic Church. Haynes detached from his underlip some fibres of tobacco before he spoke. I can quite understand that, he said calmly. An Irishman must think that, I dare say. We feel in England that we have treated you rather unfairly. It seems history is to blame. The proud, potent titles clanged over Stephen's memory, the triumph of their brazen bells. et unum sanctum Catholicum et Apostolicum Ecclesiam. The slow growth and change of rite and dogma, like his own rare thoughts, a chemistry of stars. Symbol of the apostles in the Mass for Pope Marcellus, voices blended, singing alone loud in affirmation, and behind their chant the vigilant angel of the church militant disarmed and menaced her heresiarchs, a horde of heresies fleeing with mitres awry, Photius and the brood of mockers of whom Mulligan was one, and Arius warring his life long upon the consubstantiality of the Son with the Father, and Valentine spurning Christ's terrene body, and the subtle African heresiarch Sabellius, who held that the Father was himself his own Son. Words Mulligan had spoken a moment since in mockery to the stranger. Idle mockery. The void awaits surely all them that weave the wind. At menace, a disarming and worsting from those embattled angels of the church, Michael's host, who defend her ever in the hour of conflict, with their lances and their shields. Hear, hear, prolonged applause. Zut, no de Dieu. Next, please, Anne.
Of course, I'm a parishioner, Haynes' voice said, and I feel as one. I don't want to see my country fall into the hands of the German Jews either. That's our national problem, I'm afraid, just now. Two men stood at the verge of the cliff, watching, businessmen, boatmen. She'll make for Bullock Harbour. The boatman nodded towards the north of the bay with some disdain. There's 5 fathoms out there, he said. It'll be swept up that way when the tide comes in about 1. It's 9 days today. The man that was drowned, a sail veering about the blank bay, waiting for a swollen bundle to bob up, roll over to the sun, a puffy face, salt white. Here I am. They followed the winding path down to the creek. Buck Mulligan stood on a stone, in shirt sleeves, his unclipped tie rippling over his shoulder. A young man clinging to a spur of rock near him moved slowly frog-wise, his green legs in the deep jelly of the water. Is the brother with you, Mulligan? Down in Westmeath with the Banyans. Still there? I got a card from Banyan. Says he's found a sweet young thing down there. Photo girl, he calls her. Snapshot, eh? Brief exposure. Buff Mulligan sat down to unlace his boot. An elderly man shot up near the spur of rock, a glowing red face. He scrambled up the stones, water glistening on his pate and on his garland of grey hair, water rilling up his chest and paunch, and spilling jets out of his black, sagging loincloth. Buck Mulligan made way for him to scramble past, and glancing at Haynes and Stephen, crossed himself piously with his thumbnail at brow and lips and breastbone. Seymour's back in town, the young man said, grasping again his spur of rock. Chucked medicine and going in for the army. Ah, go to God, Buck Mulligan said. Going over next week to stew. You know that red Carlisle girl, Lily, yeah? Spooning with him last night on the pier. The father is rotto with money. She up the pole. Better ask Seymour that. Seymour, a bleeding officer, Buck Mulligan said. Joe?
He nodded to himself as he drew off his trousers and stood up, saying, "Trotney, red-headed women look like goats." He broke off in alarm, feeling his side under his flapping shirt. "My 12th rib is gone," he cried. "I'm the Ubermensch. Toothless Kinch and I, the Supermen." He struggled out of his shirt and flung it beside him to where his clothes lay. "Are you going in here, Malachi?" "Yes, make room in the bed." The young man shoved himself backwards through the water and reached the middle of the creek in 2 long, clean strokes. Haynes sat down on a stone. "Are you not coming in?" Buck Mulligan asked. "Later on," Haynes said. "Not on my breakfast." Stephen turned away. "I'm going, Mulligan," he said. "Give us that key," Kinch, Buck Mulligan said, to keep my chemise flat. Miranda?
Stephen handed him the key. Buck Mulligan laid it across his heaped clothes. And 2 pence, he said, for a pint. Throw it in there. Stephen threw 2 pennies on the soft heap. Dressing, undressing, Buck Mulligan, erect, with joined hands before him, said solemnly, "He who stealeth from the poor lendeth to the Lord." Thus spake Zarathustra. His plump body plunged. "We'll see you again," Haines said, turning as Stephen walked up the path and smiling at Wild Irish. Horn of a bull, hoof of a horse, smile of a Saxon. The ship, Buck Mulligan cried, half twelfth. "Good," Stephen said. He walked along the upward curving path. Liliata rutilantium, terma circumdet, eolatium de virginatem. The priest's gray nimbus in a niche where he dressed discreetly. "I will not sleep here tonight. Home, although I cannot go." A voice, sweetened and sustained, called to him from the sea. Turning the curve, he waved his hand. It called again. A sleek brown head, a seal's, far out of the water round. Usurper. "You, Cochrane, what city sent for him?" "Tarentum, sir." "Very good. Well?" "There was a battle, sir." "Very good. Where?" The boy's blank face asked the last blank window. Fabled by the daughters of memory, and yet it was in some way, if not as memory fabled it, a phase then of patience. Thud of Blake's wings of excess. I hear the ruin of all space, shattered glass and toppling masonry, and time, one livid final flame. What's left of us then? I forgot the place, sir. 279 BC. Asculum, Stephen said, glancing at the name and the date at the gore-scarred book. "Yes, sir," he said, "and another victory like that, and we were all done for." That phrase the world had remembered, a dull ease of the mind. From a hill above a corpse-strewn plain, a general, speaking to his officers, leaned upon his spear. Any generals to any officers, they lend ear. "You, Armstrong," Stephen said. "What was the end of Pyrrhus?" "End of Pyrrhus, sir?" And I'm going to pass it to Lewis.
Okay, and I think this is a good place to stop. So the next time we can begin at the second episode. So it gives us a little time to talk and see if we have any comments or questions of what has been read so far.
I thought it was. Go ahead.
I'm glad we're reading this. It seems like a long time since we've read this,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and it's really good.
yeah. I really enjoyed that. Just reading through it and hearing the language and hearing everybody read. It was lovely.
Lovely.
Well,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Great.
There's a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah.
I would have had trouble following it had I not read a little bit of this book.
Mhm.
Yeah, otherwise it would have just been lost on me.
Yes, it's. I was wondering what you were making of it because it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
On
At the
page
moment,
12, I noticed they had printed by the Weird Sisters in the Year of the Big Wind.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Weird Sisters are the Yates sisters who ran the Kula Press.
Yep.
And so, because I thought it was in Finnegan's Wake that he mentions them, but it's actually here. And the snot green, a new art color for our Irish poets, snot green. That's a slight on Yeats, because apparently Yeats, it was the color that Yeats had his first book printed in.
Well,
So
In
there's
green?
2 mentions of the Yeats within a couple of pages.
Huh.
Mhm.
Okay.
he is right about Dublin Bay, though. It can look snot green. I think it's a great descriptive color,
Yes.
particularly in the wintertime.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
I,
Well, I was
yeah.
interested. I was interested that that came so soon after Stephen was also thinking about his mother um, s- upchucking in the bowl another green,
Yeah.
Mm.
and it seemed to me that he was doing a parallel worlds thing here, where he was envisioning his mother's cancer. It was the cancer that was causing his mother to upchuck, and that he
Mm.
was also making a sly comment that Dublin was upchucking in the bay.
Mm.
Now, I don't know how true that is. I mean, some bays get their color from pollution and some from other sources, but I was struck that the green comes up so much.
Yeah, you on a casual read, you don't get the full impact of Stephen's mother. It wasn't until I read a 1941 biography of Joyce that I realized that his mother had 4 months and 5 days of vomiting as she
Oh,
died.
Oh, God.
And,
Hmm.
and all the family were gathered around the house in chaos with upset and the father not able to cope with the death of his wife. And but and that's the bowl. And if you then move across the other page, there's a line there. It lay behind him a bowl of bitter waters. And it's, I mean, Joyce wasn't to know this, but those words marked the turning point for Joyce in Ireland when they were spoken by the late President Kennedy when he addressed the Irish Parliament during his visit in 1963. A week before he called the water between Ireland and America a bowl of bitter tears was what he used. And
Oh.
and as Joyce said, a week before that, the people who are now applauding would have spat on the name of James Joyce. But thereafter, once President Kennedy mentioned it, they were all
Oh.
or
Interesting.
only politicians could be. And you know that those words were to kind of
Ah.
this kind of legitimization in Ireland. I went through the education system here for high school for 11 years. I came out with almost full marks in my English paper, and I never heard the name James Joyce.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
That's so
Well,
funny.
that gives me a chance to mention John McCourt's what I call fabulous book.
Yes,
Mm.
yes.
100. Let's see, what is it called? Consuming Joyce: 100 Years of Ulysses, which is based upon the Irish reaction
Mm.
to the printing of Ulysses.
Mm.
It's really and I will say what I always say when I mention John McCourt's book, which is that I think that just taking that book and going through it and removing or taking the choice quotations from it,
Yeah,
there is a fabulous, I don't know what to call it, monologue, play, right there,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
and have people dressed as politicians, as as priests, as critics, etc., coming out and saying these things, and
Yeah.
it's really great.
yeah.
And I'll mention one other thing. This is very much like the tango. Let me explain. In Argentina, the original tango was a ghetto dance. It was developed by the poorest of the poor in Buenos Aires. The respectable people despised it
Yeah.
until it migrated to Paris
Yeah.
and became the hot dance of Paris.
Mm.
And then when the Argentinian upper classes saw the Parisians honoring the tango, they brought it back to Buenos Aires and started became an upper class dance.
Where would we be without the city of Paris? Everyone's in
Mm.
there and comes out legit.
Yeah, no, well, it is an important city. There's no doubt about it. Yeah.
Well, can I ask a question?
Of course.
I'm in the Gabler edition, and on page 5, as we're talking about Stephen's mother, at line 90, just before it, Malachi says, "The aunt thinks you killed your mother. That's why she won't let me have anything to do with you." To which Stephen replies, "Someone killed her." What's that about?
What do you think it might be about, Lois?
I have no idea. Is this in Stephen's brain? Who or what could this someone be? Is it a sense of faith? Is this, God took her back? I don't know.
Is it himself? He
Pardon?
wouldn't kneel at her bedside to pray for her. Does he blame himself for that, I wonder?
Oh, so he's talking about himself, maybe.
I'm suggesting that, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I assume God took her because she died of cancer. Is that what he's saying?
That's my initial reaction.
Well,
But Donna thinks it's Stephen talking about himself.
Yeah. Huh.
or Stephen talking about his father.
It's
Yeah,
Joyce.
Yeah, that could be too.
that
Yeah.
ran through my head too.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
usually taken as that Joyce is here talking about his father.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
That
Mm,
uh,
mm.
it was what nowadays be called an abusive marriage at times.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mhm. Mhm.
And Sloat agrees with that, or let's say he quotes that as the
Oh, okay.
Mm,
Okay. All right.
mm.
And
That would
Well,
make
I
sense.
mean, for all of his charms, I wouldn't want to have been married to John
oh,
Joyce
Oh, Jesus, no.
or
Or,
even be his son.
or James.
No.
yeah, street hero, house devil, that
Mm.
sort of a guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and her father was totally against it, weren't they?
Oh, her parents were very much opposed
Totally against this marriage. So
to
they met singing in the choir,
the choir.
and
Yeah.
John Joyce was probably 10 years older than her.
Yeah, and Joyce had recently, John Joyce had recently been engaged and in a failed engagement.
Oh,
And
I didn't know that bit.
Oh, right before
Okay.
that. Okay.
the day we did the tour, if
Yeah.
we had bothered to do a walk twice the length, we would have got to where her parents' house was, where she lived, and not only did he begin to, to cast his eye on the girl, he moved in about 8 doors away into digs, and
Okay.
and that's right opposite the house that is currently declared to be, well, I think we have it now pretty well settled that's the house where Leopold Bloom was, the fictitious Leopold Bloom was born.
Huh.
Uh, and
Huh.
Joyce puts his father. He puts it right opposite where his father was in digs, in rented.
Mhm.
Mm.
I think we'll have to go for another walk, Joe.
Someday,
Abs-
someday
yeah,
we get skateboards next time. We come.
exactly. Yeah. At the moment, I think we might need a boat.
But that's true. We'll have to wait for the weather to pass.
Yeah, that's seriously bad.
It's interesting about like the symbol. Sorry, I don't let me start rabbiting.
Mm.
Please do. This is the time.
The panther. Haynes dreams of the panther.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know the significance of that symbolism. The panther represents mystery, strength, ferocity, and Ireland is the Englishman's nightmare. You see, Haynes is English, and he's coming to Ireland, and they come and they change. Isn't this the point someone makes, that Edmund Spenser, the wonderful, delicate poet, comes to Ireland and becomes a rabid hater of Irish people?
Right.
And,
Okay.
and the English, they what's the word for it in psychology? They project their own faults onto Irish people. This is now in the 15, 16, and 1700s.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so here he is, and he's awakened. Can you see the symbolism? The Englishman is awakened from his nightmare by gunfire. That's the War of Independence he's listening to.
Yeah.
You see, so it's then the poor old woman is the in Irish, the Sean Van Books. That's when it was illegal to mention the name Ireland under British rule. She was called the poor old woman. So you have the poor old woman coming, you know, and the Englishman is talking to her, talking down, and
Mm.
she doesn't even recognize the Englishman's attempt at, you know. And
Mhm.
Huh.
Mhm.
and she's also then would be, and I'll stop here. She would also be a character in Odysseus, in Homer's Odyssey, Eurycleia. Eurycleia is the nurse of Odysseus.
Does
Ah,
she recognize him? Does she recognize him when he comes home?
And she is the nurse who you know, she spends her whole life there, even though he's an adult. But when he comes home and he comes into the let's say the tradesman's entrance, where the, you know, guys can come in begging, and they get a wash, and while she's the one doing the water in the washroom, and she recognizes a birthmark on his leg,
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
it.
and so she's the
yeah.
one. So, but there she is, and like and she came as a wet nurse for Odysseus, and here is Eurycleia giving her milk to the Irish.
Yeah.
Ah,
You see, so like it's all layers of symbolism. You could find
yeah.
more if
Right,
Yeah.
right, right,
quite
right,
handle
right.
it if you look closely.
Uh-huh. I think one thing that struck me is, of course, when I guess it's Haynes is speaking Irish, and the woman says, "Is it French, sir, you're speaking?"
Yeah.
And then she's told, "No, no, it's Irish," and she said, "Oh, I thought so." But
Yeah.
but to me, the thing that struck me, and you can correct me on this, Joe, is that actually many Irish lost their ability
Oh,
to understand and to speak Irish because of the British rule. It was kind of
Mm.
yeah.
forbidden. It was
It's
not allowed to be taught in the schools.
Oh, absolutely not. And it was deliberately suppressed and
Mhm.
wasn't allowed to be published. Um, so but it was taught in secret schools,
egg
uh,
Right,
school.
the head schools, I think they were
head
called.
schools, yeah. And there's a possibility that Joyce's great great grandfather may have been a head school teacher.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
you know, like that's a long shot, but
Okay.
so there you go. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the old girls go, but you notice old and you know, kind of, let's say, as ignorant as she is, she can do her maths.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dang,
Absolutely.
dang, yes.
Isn't it interesting that our new president now is going to promote the use of Irish as a working
Mm.
language It's
Yeah.
never home.
Yeah,
Mm.
it is actually, it is
I don't
making.
know whether you've noticed or not, but on TV, a lot of the commentators are throwing in what we would refer to as the coup de fuckle,
Yeah,
the couple of
Mm.
words.
A couple of words, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a whole resurrection going on. It has jumped generations. My generation, because Irish was compulsory, we then went the other way after independence.
Mm.
Like you tell a kid something's compulsory, you made it compulsory to eat cake. Kids wouldn't like cakes, you know. And we all came to school like that, we knew it, but we're strongly silent. But it's young people that are picking it up now, volunteer. And because it's a far more logical language than English. It speaks more accurately to things, and so
There's a
there.
greater sense in it as well, isn't there? There's a depth of meaning in it
Oh
in
yeah,
Irish.
yeah.
No
It's a
threatening.
it's a whole other way of thinking, and it's Indo-European. It's like it's very old language. It goes back into your Indo-European roots. The people who came down from the plains of Europe into Greece, the language they brought with them that became Greek is the same language as that the kids are picking up in school now. And if you learn Greek, it's very like Irish. It's astonishingly like it.
Yeah.
So I
And
could learn both at the same time.
well, I don't think so. They did diverge, but it's rising. Like Irish is different. Like English is ridiculous. You say I am angry. You
Mm.
can't be anger. I am not anger.
Anger is on me.
Anger is like a garment that comes on you. The Irish is on me. The
But
anger.
isn't it the same in like languages like Spanish and Portuguese? They always say the same. You are not that. It's on you.
Yeah. Something you wear
You don't define yourself as that.
yourself by that. Yeah,
Mm.
and then
The Chinese character for anger is actually a woman with a heavy hand pushing her down.
yeah.
Mm.
And then you have that Roman proverb, anger is a brief madness. It is a kind of form of temporary insanity, to get angry with them. But it's kind of, I mean, Joyce just packs everything in.
It
We could
does.
any page and talk till the pub closes about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Why it takes so long
Well,
to get through
generally
it on the
speaking,
line?
I think he does it very economically, though, by having Joyce and Buck Mulligan and Haynes.
yeah,
And just
Mm.
working with those three characters, he's able to bring out a whole bunch of stuff
yeah,
and make it very, very clear. And Haynes is a perfect. I think he's perfect. He's an Englishman who's come to revive Ireland, Irish culture.
yeah,
Mm.
Uh, and he's very much how the Native Americans in America consider many anthropologists.
yeah. He's a
So
stock character in Irish theatre, and like he's in Brendan Behan. They come here and they learn to play the bagpipes and they wear kilts and things. That eccentric. I call them the best type of English person. They're very eccentric people, and they join strange political movements and things.
As well, I've been listening in, folks. Very interesting. As well, the Anglo-Irish, which would be the kind of the Irish people of English descent going back centuries, they played a big part in the Irish revival as well.
Oh, yeah.
oh yeah,
And
yeah.
in terms of anger, anger is on me and I am angry. In CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, they say, I am not my thoughts.
Mm. Exactly.
That's an interesting one, Jim.
Yeah,
Mhm. But I was actually today I was reading. I was looking at the name there, Vivian Ego's book.
oh yeah,
And yes, so when she does Haynes,
Yeah.
Haynes is His father was the second son of the Most Reverend Richard Chevenix, who was Archbishop of Dublin in 1864 to 84. So that's maybe where he wanted to look, his Irish come from and all of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Haynes actually shot himself, didn't he?
He did, yeah, when he was
He
27.
committed suicide.
And his father before him, but his father shot himself. He was, I was here in front of me, he's 40 something, but he had a terminal illness, so that's possibly why he did it.
Okay.
While when Trench did it, he was 27 in 1909, and the inquest said that the cause of death, he shot himself in the ear and forehead while temporarily insane.
Yeah.
And I'm raging because he's buried in Brompton Cemetery in London, which is on Fulham Road behind Chelsea, where my son and his wife lived for years. And I used to wander through Brompton Cemetery all the time. It's one of these amazing old cemeteries. I spent days there walking the dog. I never knew he was there.
Discovered
And now
later.
they're in Dubai, so I won't get there again.
Well, and it's always there if you want to go back. But as
I
well,
know.
regarding Brompton Oratory, that I think is the place where Michael Collins used to go to mass when he was over in London for the treaty negotiations.
Oh, okay.
Does everything? Can I come in again, Duncan? I've stolen a lot of your time. Can I?
No.
No.
You have successfully used the time.
Oliver St. John University was frightened of what Joyce might write about him, and I don't know whether you noticed. Has anyone noticed the homosexual hints in there? Yes, my love.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I noticed that because
And
I know quite a few.
Cranley's arm. Cranley is the guy in Portrait who makes the homosexual thing. And in that A Little Cloud in Dubliners, that's the homosexual story. I mean, Joyce gets away with murder. Like, you couldn't write about homosexual. That's a homosexual story, and the character, what's his name, the journalist, he's there. He's the practicing where the little what's his name, the other guy is repressed, but he has going to a party. He's got a chap over from England. Gogarty in this, that's Buck Mulligan, has a chap over from England. You see? And I think Gogarty was afraid that Joyce would paint him as a homosexual. He went on.
And was he, Joe?
Yes, he went on to have a wife and children. As the best of homosexuals back then always had a wife and children as well.
Oh gosh.
Many of them. It was necessary almost.
Children grew up.
Oh, of course, yeah.
When the children grew up, he upped sticks and moved to New York, and led a rural life with the lads in New York. And so you can see why he was afraid what Joyce was going to write about him, and he did, but it doesn't show to the. I don't know how many times I read this and never noticed it. I thought it was a bit strange. Yes, my love, and
yeah, I noticed that. All right.
For those of you who've been to the Tower, think about that opening scene with the flowing yellow dressing gown. And think of the position of turning towards the entrance from the winding military staircase where Joyce's head is, and think about it.
Okay.
A lot depends. We don't have any description as to what Buck Mulligan is wearing under the dressing gown. The implication is nothing.
Food for thought.
So there you go. So like maybe this is a dirty book and they were No, we shouldn't be reading it.
Mm.
Well, what I see in here, I mean, is Mulligan is he's a scoundrel, and he's a trickster,
Yes.
and he, I mean, I think perhaps Joyce is inflicting some of his own personal traits on the Mulligan because Mulligan's always caging money from other people
Yeah.
and is always scheming. In spite of the fact that he's going to medical school and he's apparently, I assume he's from a maybe not a rich family, but a well-off family. But
Yeah.
somehow he's always working out some scheme to
Mm.
get money from whoever he's around.
Well, like he in the 1920s when they were getting together over in the west of Ireland, this kind of Yeats and the boys, he used to fly his own aircraft there.
Okay.
You don't do that as a, kind
Yeah.
of guy on average salary in the
Yeah.
1920s anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we have successfully not only used our time, but we've gone a little bit beyond. But let us gather together by the river next Thursday, and we will move on to the schoolboy chapter.
Excellent.
It will be also full of nice readings and interesting stuff.
Yes,
All
Yeah.
right.
great.
Good.
Good.
See you
Bye,
next
Thank
time.
everyone.
you.
Thank you
Goodbye.
very
Bye.
much.
Good
Bye.
night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.